Okay, hello beautiful ones. Hello, hello. Welcome to the Pleasurethon. So today we've got a really exciting mentor and actually a speaker, and she's reached out to me a few weeks ago saying that she really wants to talk on this Pleasurethon today. And so I've invited her to come across. Let's all give a big cheer to Giselle. Hey Giselle.
Hello, everyone.
How you doing?
I'm wonderful. I'm in New York and I absolutely hate it.
Okay, so yeah, tell us a little bit more about your story. Like, you've come onto the call because you wanted to share a really deep message that is so meaningful to you. And so there we go. The stage is yours.
Okay, so basically we're going to talk about something called like defining gender binary and like breaking the gender binary glass, because a lot of people think that, when we were younger, we think binary, like, male, female, like male should be certain ways, female should be certain ways, whether it comes to acting, dressing, whatever it may be. And like we're women, we don't have to sleep around with people that we sleep around with labeled whores. If like men sleep around with women, they're known as like, that's known as like a prize. It's like they're the man, they're the best thing in the world. It's like, so we're going to talk about a lot of things, and like that's one of the main things you talk about. But I identify as a trans woman. Like, it was years and years of hiding, like, basically not being safe with who I was. And through therapy and through like basically some women on this group have definitely empowered me to like have more of a voice. And my voice was very low. I thought that I was very so outspoken. I'm like, I'm really so outspoken, and I met other women who are very outspoken and very like, and that's great because I definitely needed that. And the one thing that I say is like, I hate when people say sir, ma'am. Don't get me wrong, it's respectful to say to somebody, but you don't know. Like, like when I was a very early age, saying sir and ma'am was something that we had to do, and I never did it. Like, I never said sir, I never said ma'am. I didn't know how to say that, and I got a lot of flack from it from my parents. My mom's dad's like, no, you got to say sir or ma'am. Like, no, I don't. And I defied that many, many times. But through years of therapy has definitely told me that I should be saying, like, the pronoun that I use. And I asked why. And it was like, because the thing is, through therapy, they said that you just didn't want to preconceive someone's gender just as much you don't want someone to preconceive yours. And that rang true. Like, like I never felt comfortable being male. Like, I believe I'm like trans female, but I'm sexually fluid. I can sleep with men and women. And it's not something that I do. And like I still have like people to this day say, oh, sir, ma'am. And you think in New York it's like accepting, because New York City, you have the village where people know the lineages of like LGBT rights. Stonewall riots actually happened around where I am now. And that was the first break of like LGBT rights. But trans rights were never really talked about, and trans rights were never even discussed. Like, men were known as drag queens, and we have drag queens, and people are like, what's a drag queen? A king. And a drag king is basically someone who dresses masculine, or that's, see, me going back to the gender binary. But it's like very, very difficult to be out in New York sometimes, because even you have so many tourists who like don't know like the proper pronoun use, or they're raised in their society where oh, you were born a guy, you're a guy. You can have all the surgery in the world, you're still a guy. And it goes vice versa. You can have all the surgery in the world and you're still a girl. It's like people don't understand. And I've experienced a lot of hatred in New York. Like, I experienced, like, people tell me I'm in the wrong bathroom. I've got told that just because you have hair on doesn't make you a woman. It's like, a lot of stigmatism.
Yeah. And so what's the message that you've got for people today who are going through these kinds of issues? Like, is there anything that you'd like to share out of your own experience, or out of your own, you know, sort of acknowledgements and wisdom that you would like to almost like, you know, like as if you had a gift for people who are going through these issues? Because I know that you've faced a lot of, well, a lot of these problems in your own life. What is it that you would say to someone who, you know, is maybe thinking of transitioning, or maybe who is struggling with these, well, consensuses that you've just touched upon? Like, what would you say to them?
Well, there's no right or wrong way to be trans. You know, people have this whole conception that, and your transition is your transition. Like, there's no, don't compare and disparage. And sometimes I do that. Yeah, like, you know, I have to admit I am the guilty person who does that. Like, you know, like, I look at a trans woman and I'm like, how big her boobs got through estrogen. And I'm like, why can't I have those big boobs? And why can't I have that? But my transition is my transition. And I have to be gifted that the universe has given me basically a gift of, how, like, you know, what I have and what I have. Like, you know, like, yeah, I still go in surgery, but not every single trans person wants surgery. Like, that's another thing people need to understand, is that your transition is your transition. And you got to own it. You got to, like, own it. You got to proclaim it. You can't say that, oh, I'm going to live through Caitlyn Jenner's transition, or Carmen Cara, or Fallon Fox, because there's a lot of famous trans people out there. And yeah, some of them have flaws, but we all have flaws. Like, you know, like, I haven't met a person who's like 100% perfect. And Fallon Fox is an MMA fighter, whoever don't know her. And you have Chelsea Manning, who served in the U.S. Army, but deserted, and she went to the brig. Then you have Caitlyn Jenner, and I have mixed views on Caitlyn, so I'm not going to really say much about Caitlyn. But you got Caitlyn. Then you got Carmen Cara, who was married to, like, some guy, and then she became celebrity. It's like, you know, that's, so we have a lot of trans female known superstars. And that's what people say, oh, I'm not going to amount to do nothing with my life. Like, I'm not going to get a job, because I've been declined jobs because I don't fit the binary. Like, you know, like, I have the long hair, I wear makeup when I do. It's like, people think that, oh, I'm just being a gay man. And I'm gifted with New York City, where we have this law where we can't be discriminated against no matter how we dress or how we look. So I've been getting jobs, which is great. But there's still a little stigmatism. But people, you got to own your transition. You got to own it like you wouldn't believe. And it's like, you can't compare your transition to everybody else. Yeah. It's a process. It's a big process. And it took me years to accept this. Like, you know, there's some people in third world countries who never get to experience what we experience. Yeah. And it's like, they get persecuted because, you know, they're really gay men, and they get persecuted, and they're sent to death. But you shouldn't let that hold you back. Like, you know, like, I'd rather die in my truth than die in my lie. And that's what I do. It's like, I tell the truth everywhere I am. And that goes with just everything in general, not just my transition. It goes with, like, my friendships. It goes with, like, my partners. You know, it goes with anything. Like, I tell people, this is 100% truth, and it's mine. And I don't have to validate it for anybody. Like, I don't have to, like, you know, tell somebody, oh, you know, this, that, and the third. And they don't have to believe it. I can care less if somebody believes that, because at the end of the day, I know I'm telling the truth, and that's me. And that's the only thing I can think about.
Yeah, that's super beautiful. And I feel that that's really your message. Like, that's what you're bringing out in the world, and that's how you shine. Like, that's what I noticed when I got to meet you. Like, we only just met online, but every time you were reaching out, I was like, wow, you know, Giselle is really raw. Like she's just like connected with her own rawness and her own feelings, and you're just so in the moment. And I just love that, you know, because people often don't even allow themselves to go there, to just be fully raw and authentic. And you know, it might sort of trigger other people, especially if you're not, you know, super at ease with your own truth. But I think it's so beautiful to have you shine in here. And how this kind of brings me to my next question. How do you feel that you know, you being stigmatized and you know, being placed into this, you know, box where you didn't feel like you wanted to fit, how did this change you as a person, and what are the gifts that you've taken away from this? Like, you know, this situation is a very special one, and so I feel that, you know, it really had an impact on you know, who you turned out to be. And so what are the gifts that you feel you've taken out of this?
Well, like, you know, I don't allow society to put me in a box. Like, the minute you try to put me in a box is the minute I fight harder. It's like, I don't, you know, I never like being contained. It's kind of like when you poke a stick at a dog that's like just sitting there and like timid and afraid, and you keep poking the stick at the dog, and eventually the dog's gonna like snap and bite it. That's exactly how I am. And that's why sometimes, even now, like, my friends are sometimes afraid to come to me about certain things. And like, Giselle, tell me the truth. I'm like, you really want that? Because like, sometimes my truth, like you said, it's too raw for people, and some people can't handle my truth. But the thing is that if you can't handle the truth about something, then there's something within yourself that's just not right.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I think it brings people face to face with their own boundaries and with how they feel connected with themselves, and you know, how much they validate themselves in the first place. And this is why maybe they feel triggered, because their boundaries are a little bit weaker.
Yeah, and like, you know, that's the thing, is like, you know, I cater my conversations according to the person I'm with. Like, if I'm having a conversation with somebody, I kind of know that person's kind of uncomfortable with some truth, so I kind of scale it back a little bit. And I'm a chameleon, and I hate doing that. I hate like placating to people. I hate playing kid gloves with people, but sometimes I need to, and that's what I need to do. It's like, I don't like playing the kid gloves half the time. I hate it. But some people want to go skate by in life with these kid gloves, like they want people to validate their bullshit. And that's fine. It's like, you know, I tell people, like, you know, people like, what makes me Giselle? Like, what makes me the woman I am? And it's a lot of things. I think it starts from my birth sign. It starts with me being a Leo. You know, it's like, it starts with that, because if people don't know, actually, August 21st is National Solar Eclipse Day. And, you know, it's funny because, like, you know, like they say, oh, do this for your, what's this, what day your birthday fall on? What's the last number of your year that you fall on? And everything else. And I actually did that with my friend, and it says that I'm the creator of total strength, which I do live, because because I do not care what people think about me. It does not bother me at the end of the day. I can get 15 hymns in one day, and I can get no ma'ams, and I can get no, like, cheese, and I'll be like, okay, guess what? There's only one person that said that today, and that was me. So that's all I care about.
Yeah. And I love that, because, you know, you've got this untamable nature, which I feel is so inspiring to all of us, really, because I feel that, especially as women, like, we often get entangled into submission or submissive situations, even amongst ourselves, you know, even amongst each other. And so, you know, for you to shine in that untamable truth in this wilderness, I find is so empowering to us as well, because it's almost like you're bringing in, you know, I don't want to say the masculine, but I actually want to say the masculine energy, because I think we all have the masculine energy, but you're bringing it onto a completely new level where you're actually saying, well, hey, you know, these are my boundaries. This is my, you know, this is my straight to the point presence, and I own it, right? And I know that this is me, right? And so it's almost like there's this beautiful dance between masculine and feminine energies that are sort of merging in your own personality, and we can learn so much from that, right? And
Yeah.
and so, yeah, what I wanted to say as well is obviously this untamable. When did this come to fruition for you? Like, when did you start to really tap into the untamable and wilderness truths for you?
I think I started doing the untamable acts like when I was a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
It all started when I believe I have like no filter, and sometimes it gets me in really bad trouble. Sometimes it gets me in like a trouble where I'm like, you're not supposed to be saying that, and so I had to like learn how to like, okay, this is society acceptable things to say. This is not society acceptable.
Yeah.
You know, doesn't mean that everybody's going to agree with it, and that's fine, because, you know, like, I have to learn that there's certain things that you shouldn't tell somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, like somebody calls me tranny, it's disrespectful.
Yeah.
It's like that disrespectful code word. It's like kind of like, you know, same thing with like racial lineage. Like, I'm not going to call a Spanish person a spick, or I'm not going to call, you know, or I'm not going to call someone who's black, and I'm not going to use the word, because that's a very harsh word for me, and I'm not even African American.
Yeah.
It's like, but the thing is that I was told, it all started when I was in 5th grade, and this guy Antonio, who just came from school, he was like, you know, one of my good friends, and he did something that like get me upset, and I just said something. I'm like, oh, you're just being a brownie, and I didn't know what that was until the teacher pulled me aside like later on that day and says that that's a disrespectful word. You can't say those things. And I didn't know what it was because I heard my father say it. And then it's just like one of those things that I'm like, wow, I got to scale it back just a little bit.
Yeah.
Because this, and I'm like, wow. But sometimes like I do think before I say something, and it's very hard to think. And it's one of those things where I'm like, sometimes I don't care. Sometimes I will go for your throat and not care.
Yeah.
And I think because like people look at me like, you know, like, oh, you know, oh, you're not really like, you know, like you're not really feminine, or like, you know, you're really like, because like this is not feminine characteristic.
Mm-hmm.
And like, you know, the thing is that I'm just as feminine as someone else is. Like, you know, just because like, you know, like, yeah, I was born biologically male doesn't make me less of a feminine person like that somebody else is.
Yeah, that's so beautiful.
Just because I show some masculine characteristics, it's like, you know, people get scared because even when I go to the gym, when I bench 200 pounds, they're like, how the fuck do you do that? And you're a girl. I'm like, who said there's a right or wrong way to bench fucking weights?
I love that.
It's like, you know, it's like, you know, I look at it like, okay, just what? Because I bench 200 pounds. I have tattoos almost like on like probably 40% of my body. What? It just makes me like less of a woman? That makes no sense. And I tell people that. I'm like, you know, you got to understand that there's things about people that you're just not going to understand.
Yeah, and this kind of brings me to my next, you know, something I'd like to dive deeper into with you, because even though you have this very strong and very, you know, like untamable personality, I know that deep down inside you are an empath, and you have this really gentle side to you, and this really, yeah, I almost want to say vulnerable side to you that you are quite happy to share and display. And so it's almost like maybe in your teenage years you would use this untamable rebellious side maybe to protect what was, you know, the very gentle side within you, because people didn't understand it and they didn't know how to handle it. And so maybe that untamable nature just, you know, came in to protect your gentleness in the first place. But then as you grew older, I feel that you were managing, to balance these two aspects and assets within you. And so tell us a little bit more about your gift of being an empath, and how this gentleness and this vulnerable space that you have within yourself is actually the one thing that you use to connect with other souls and with other people. And I know that you're such a loving person, like, you just display your love so freely. So yeah, tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, what happens is that even then, like being an empath, like, some people don't know what empath is. Like, we can't tell people, like, we can't tell normal people, and I put normal in quotations on that, about being empaths, because people don't understand what that means. Like, if you tell a doctor or a psychiatrist that, you'll probably go to the psych ward. It's like, like, it's just one of those things that you just absorb everybody's energy, and you absorb everyone's, like, whether it's negative, positive, or indifferent, you absorb it so much easy. It's like, it's so easy to sit in a room and just, like, for somebody, it's so easy to sit in a room and just, like, sit there and, like, not collect any kind of feelings. But if I'm in a room with, like, 50, 60 other people, that's a big mistake, because I'm going to go through a shitstorm. And I'm like, and this is, like, through and through, that I'm feeling everybody's feelings. I'm like, what the fuck's here? And then through years of, like, tuning my craft and tuning that this is about me, I've learned, because I wear my protection crystal almost everywhere I go. If I'm in a crowded room for the first time, I'm wearing that protection crystal. And then something clicks inside me and says, you're safe here. You can take this off now. And or you can keep this on for the time you're here, because there's something negative here. Even though it protects me, I still feel negative energy. And I try to stay away from it as much as possible. So it's like one of those things that I've learned, and it's like, and even then, like, that's another trait that people tell me I do have, that's kind of a freaking amazing gift, and it's kind of also a curse in a way, is that I can tell a lot about a person within 5 minutes of a conversation.
Yeah.
Whether I met you in person or not, I can tell a lot about you in 5 minutes. It's like, I just need a quick hear your voice, a quick, and it's even through over text message. I can feel somebody's energy. I can tell what kind of person they are. Like, how were they raised? What are they going through right now? And what makes them who they are today? And it's one of those things that, wow, holy shit. And I've scared people away from that shit. People were like, holy shit, how the hell do you know that? I'm like, because I do.
Yeah. Well, that's a beautiful gift. And I think, yeah, of course, it scares people off who are not so in touch with their own intuition and their own knowing. But, truth is, we all have this gift. We all can touch into it and really, really tune in. Okay, Giselle, is there anything else that you'd like our Pleasurethon members to know? Is there anything that you want to say that's on your heart?
Well, I want to say that it is definitely a pleasure doing this, because this makes my voice even more louder than it is now. If it gets any more louder, I'll probably lose my voice. But I have to keep it in today. And for people who are struggling, you don't have to struggle anymore. Like, you have these days that you have definitely started this whole Pleasurethon thing. It's one of those enlightening things. And, you're not gonna necessarily agree with everything. You're not gonna necessarily agree with everything. It's like you pick and choose what you want to check up on, and what you're feeling today. And it's always going back to. It's like, okay, you know what? I'm feeling hurt today. I'm gonna go back to tomorrow. Or I'm feeling this. I'm gonna go to day 20, or whatever case may be. It's like, you don't have to agree with it at the moment, because it might be something later in life that says, you know what? I need to agree to this. I need to check this video out. And I'm not a stranger to people friending me. So if people want to friend me on Facebook, they're more than glad to do that. I think, as well as Erica know, that I'm a very friendly woman. Like, I'm a very friendly kindred spirit. And it's like, I'm not afraid to, speak to people about it and what's going on with them, because eventually when money comes in and it comes in on a good basis, and I'm actually set my financial goals, then I'm actually going to be working with one of the people here in this group, and I'm actually going to talk to them and say, I want to be a sexual liberation coach. So I'm actually working on that. So I think that'll be good because it'll help my liberation as well as everything else. And what started the whole like liberation movement was that I started recently doing trauma therapy for my sexual abuse when I was younger.
Mm.
And I started that 2 weeks ago, and today I'm going there later today doing my third session. It's like, it's an amazing thing that I am letting go of all this pain. And lately it's been like that whole pain side has been kind of like subsided a little bit. It's washing away each time I read it, you know, it's like, and it's been really hard. But I tell myself every time I go in before my therapy session is that I expect nothing from this therapy session except for an open mind and an open spirit. And that's all I tell myself.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot go in life expecting things. So it is definitely great to do this. I really am grateful that I had this opportunity. You know, this is something I never thought I'd be doing. It wasn't in my cards until, like, you know, I thought it'd be, you know, you thought it'd be a great idea for, you know, women to do some wonderful things, and they definitely are wonderful people. And almost this every single group is, all these mentors are somehow, some way, like, connected with, like, what I know. And I really appreciate every single one of them. So, and I appreciate every single person who's actually listening or watching.
Yeah. Amazing. Thank you so much, Giselle, for coming on and for shining and for showing yourself. I know it takes a lot of courage to be speaking in such an open and public space, but it's so worth it because I feel that your message really, really has some beautiful gemstones for us to take away. So I'm so glad that we got to connect today. Thank you.
Yes, we definitely did. And it was great.
Awesome. Okay, guys. So as you know, we are running this charity funding challenge. So please do get your donations over on the Pleasurethon. Just find the link in the group. If you can't find it, just
send us donations.
Yay! It really makes a difference.
Send us donations because people are getting fucking mutilated on the genitals that shouldn't be. We have the right to bear kids, and we have the right to procreate the way we feel, and you should not freaking just be ashamed. And you say, you know what? You're helping somebody to even send you $1. So just help out, please, for the love of God.
Yeah, it's a beautiful cause, and I really, really felt compelled to support it in this way. So, all right, Giselle, thank you so much, and thank you all for watching and for listening and tuning in. I love you all very much, and enjoy the rest of the Pleasurethon.
Enjoy.